All right, folks, welcome back. What you just saw should scare the pants off of every single American. And it just begs the question, what the heck is going on? How is what you just saw possible? That Alex Pappas and the folks from the Daily Caller could drive a car through the front gate of a nuclear power plant 50 miles outside of D.C., the Calvert Cliff nuclear power plant, at 35 miles an hour, and nobody's there to see them. Joining us now is Alex Pappas, political reporter for the Daily Caller. Hello, Alex.
Hey, Steve. Thanks for having me.
To me, this is with everything, notwithstanding the hearings, non-ISIS, notwithstanding the president speaking right now about sending troops to go fight Ebola, God help us, notwithstanding everything else, this is the story that should be grabbing the headlines all over the country, because this is, I don't even know what to call it. How on earth did you, decide to attempt this and talk about exactly what we just saw?
Yeah, well, like a lot of stories, this started with a tip, and one that seemed pretty much too good to be true. We have a guy who calls in, a member of the community, and says, 50 miles outside Washington, D.C. is the Calvert Cliffs nuclear power plant. He said, I drove down there recently, and there's this unmanned security clearance gate. I was able to go through, in fact, make it all the way to the main building. It didn't see a single security guard the entire time. And so we said, well, why don't we go out and get it? But there's lots of stories we investigate that end up being dead ends and we don't actually write about because, they just don't work out. This was one I was legitimately surprised that what our source told us was completely true. So I drive out there with the cameraman and we turn off the main road. You drive about a half a mile down roads that say, leading to the entrance, that say, do not enter, no unauthorized people. And we pass through a gate and then all of a sudden there's this security checkpoint. It says there's signs that say closed, do not enter, but there's nobody there. We were able to drive right through it. In fact, we saw padlocks on the doors to where the security guards would sit. So, our question was, why do you even build a security checkpoint if you're not even going to man it? The nuclear power plant and the officials there pushed back hard, saying they're comfortable with the level of security they have now, but have decided to move those people from that front gate and put them elsewhere.
Well, how far did you guys drive in? When did you see people? Did you see people?
I didn't. I went that one morning. We went twice, actually. We actually went back later in the afternoon just to make sure it wasn't a fluke. And when we went back, one of the other reporters saw one security guy and a car drive past him, but the security guard didn't stop them or even notice anything. We were in a parking lot right by the entrance to the main building, and we estimated we were about 550 feet away from one of the nuclear reactors. So we are there in this parking lot. We're not supposed to be there. We're able to get pretty close. And so I talked to some experts and said, in reality, how problematic is this, that we were able to get that close to a nuclear reactor? And they said, it's very difficult to attack one of these things and actually cause a core meltdown. But the fact that you got that close, imagine truck bombs in the Oklahoma City bombing, which was, it's eerie considering the fact that when we were there, we didn't see security, or I didn't see security, but we did see a truck, the size of one of those Ryder trucks that we saw in the Oklahoma City bombing drive past us. Never stopped by security. And keep in mind, too, the 9/11 terrorists, the 9/11 Commission told us, had considered attacking nuclear power plants, and we were able to show that there is a main gate, and for whatever reason, they've decided that it's not worth putting people there anymore.
And that is just bizarre. That is absolutely bizarre. I can't imagine. Have you gotten the criticism I would expect from those who would want to poo-poo this and say, how dare you give terrorists ideas?
Oh, yeah. I've gotten a lot of that. This story elicited a lot of response. You got a lot of people like that saying, how dare you to even point this out? Well, you're just giving a map to the terrorists. But we think it's important for people to know. The community was concerned. They saw this. It's important that we think put this out there, and the community can ask the nuclear plant, are you really doing what you can to make sure that the area is secure? So the plant, like I said, has pushed back hard and said that we didn't get close enough to the reactors. We were about 600 feet away, but they said had we, in fact, they gave a pretty dramatic quote to one paper saying that had we gotten up to the fence or tried to get any closer to what they consider the protected area, that they could have shot us, that they have security forces that were inside the building. But like I said,
so wait, let me get this straight, Alex. Let me get this straight. So I mean, I know they have signs probably that say keep out, but they have nothing to prevent anybody driving to the point where they're telling you they could have shot at you. I mean, that would have been pretty bizarre.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I thought. And I asked them, I said, once again, why do you have this security checkpoint? What's the purpose of even building it? And they said it was actually used, I think, after 9/11 until recently, and they decided to deploy those officers, they say, to somewhere else inside the plant. They said that in reality, they claim that it's impenetrable, that there's no way anybody could actually get to it. But still, I mean, just think about it. I mean, a truck bomb, a sniper starting from our position to take security out so they can get closer. I think it's
yeah. No. I'm sorry. There are a million scenarios that you're correctly presenting, and none of them are good, and it's just bizarre. And you wonder about the electric grid. We've had all these reports over the past couple of years about attacks on electric grids, and there are no accident, and also electric grids that are important that are also unguarded. The simplest thing, because there are a finite number of nuclear plants and a finite number of key electric grids. So you think we would take X amount of dollars and concentrate on that finite number of places and say we need to put a brick wall around these places security-wise. Instead, there's nobody there.
Yeah, it was stunning, to say the least. And this is 50 miles outside Washington, D.C. I mean, in the case of a nuclear core meltdown, I mean, in that awful scenario, radiation would reach Washington, D.C. So some scary stuff for sure.
It is. All right, let's move on to another great piece that you wrote at dailycaller.com, and that is Mike Huckabee and whether or not he will run for president. Now, of course, Mike Huckabee, since his last run, has been very successful doing his weekend program on Fox News Channel, and also had a radio show, which I do not think he has anymore. I could be wrong. Not quite as successful as the TV show, financially or otherwise. Nonetheless, there's got to be a fire in the belly. There's got to be a willingness to let that kind of income potential go away. You sat down with him. What impression do you get?
Yeah, I was there with about 8 or 9 other reporters, and I tell you what, I walked away from this. We had coffee with Mike Huckabee yesterday, convinced that he is seriously considering running. I honestly, before I walked in, would have said that, of course, he's going to say he's thinking about it. He's leading in some polls in Iowa. I mean, he's handedly leading everybody else. But it was very interesting, the stuff that he decided to emphasize right off the bat. He dispensed with the small talk, emphasized the fact that he's recently gotten back from Israel, that he's traveled to the Middle East before, says that he's been talking with experts on a regular basis about foreign affairs. I mean, this is the same guy that when he ran in 2008 said that we should be talking more about education and domestic issues, showing that he was a governor, but he also is boning up on foreign policy experience. But I think what you said at the beginning was one of the big questions that we all had, which is that he's, for the first time in his life, Mike Huckabee's making money. In 2008, he had no money. He mortgaged his house. He cashed out his retirement funds just so he could continue to campaign. He's making money. He's comfortable. Does he want to give that up? We asked him, and he said he'd be willing to do it if he decided to run. But a lot of people still skeptical if he'll make the jump for that reason. I mean, that's the reason he probably didn't run in 2012.
Yeah, he also said to you that he knows how to govern and he's prepared to be president. Of course, he was governor of Arkansas. But did he put a timetable? I guess there's still plenty of time, obviously. Nobody's really declared at this point, so there's nothing pressing him to declare and jump in right now. But what's your impression as far as what he considers to be a timetable of making an announcement, or at least making a decision one way or another?
Definitely after the elections and next year. And so this is kind of common. We're hearing this from a lot of other people that are thinking about it too. I was just at a lunch today with Bobby Jindal, who's in D.C. today, talking up a new energy plan, and like Huckabee said.
By the way, Alex, you're eating a lot of lunches, you know.
I know, I love it. You got to do it. You got to get out of the office. If somebody wants you to have lunch with them, why not? So yeah, it's fun for that reason. But like Huckabee said, Republicans got to focus on the midterms, and then they'll make a decision, probably announce at the beginning of next year.
All right. Well, that's going to be very, very interesting. And Jindal also said the same thing.
Yeah, he said the same thing, waiting until next year. I think Jindal also is somebody that he's trying to make himself out to be this intellectual alternative, I guess you could say, of the Republican Party. He released a plan to, for an Obamacare replacement today. He released his own plan talking about energy, the Keystone Pipeline, that sort of thing. And I think he's going to continue to do this, find issues and release, specific plans so he can run and say, I'm the only one on this stage who has proposed an Obamacare alternative, that sort of thing.
And you know what, Alex? He's the antithesis of Governor Christie, who in Mexico wouldn't give his opinion on immigration, and just yesterday wouldn't give his opinion on health care, and not just in a nice way, in a very snide way, which I think is outrageously ridiculous. But anyway, Alex, thank you, sir, and enjoy your next lunch.
Thanks.
Take care. Alex Pappas, political reporter, The Daily Caller. When we come back, Communications Director for the RNC, Sean Spicer.